Coming up, what an excellent day for hypnosis. Well, howdy folks, and welcome to Minute 62 of the Exorcist Minute, a show where we endeavor to examine, extrapolate, and excavate the Exorcist minute by terrifying minute. My name is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I'm Keenan Diaz.
And we'll be your holy guides on this journey through what some have called the scariest movie of all time. Okay, so our minute begins with a hand passing over Reagan's face.
And it ends with a psychiatrist standing up and saying, "I'm speaking to the person inside of Reagan."
And yes, folks, that is the owner of the mysterious hand at the end of the last minute and at the top of this one. This is the fabled psychiatrist that Chris has been asking for this whole time. The whole time. And that Dr. Klein has finally found for her. Mm-hmm. This actor is Arthur Storch. He's a New York actor and Broadway director. He did 6 films. Exorcist was his 5th, from what I see. He's mainly stayed in New York, but he gives an excellent performance here. His voice is so calm and so creepy at the same time. I'm not saying that he's creepy or his character is creepy. What I mean is he has the perfect voice for this scene. Folks, if you'll remember, we just ended our last scene in complete and total chaos, right? That scene actually had several endings and like any and all of which could prompt you to want to seek therapy yourself. And well, here we are, folks. Our psychiatrist introduces himself out of the blackness in between our scenes with this calming, reassuring, but also authoritative voice that is in control of the situation, right? This is truly a therapist's voice. And Storch does a great job in making us believe that if this was a problem which could be fixed by psychiatry, he would be the guy to do it.
Mm-hmm. Right. We believe that he would do. That's a really good point, right? We kind of look at Klein and we're like, fuck this guy. He doesn't know what he's doing, right? But yeah. Now we're switching to Storch, I suppose we can call him. And we're like, yeah, this guy's got it.
Yeah, he's definitely got it. Dr. Storch, right? That's what I'm going to say. Dr. Storch. Dr. Psychiatrist Storch. Yeah.
The RP psychiatrist.
There we go. The P psychiatrist, yeah. Unfortunately, we already know he's not going to be able to do anything. And so this actually has the opposite effect on us. At least it did for me, because it is so calming and it is so reassuring. It's even worse because I know that it's useless. And that's what I meant at the top of this thing when I said scary or creepy, right? Mm-hmm. Not to mention the fact that he is doing something here at the top of this minute that sort of bridges the gap between medicine and magic. Like, I don't think I'm wrong in saying that, at least today, we associate hypnosis with the more like magical, mystical end of the mental spectrum, right? Like, in fact, I'm not even... The mental spectrum. Yes. That's a phrase I just made up, right?
Okay, great.
Not to be confused with the spectrum, like as referred to, like whenever we talk about the spectrum.
The spectrum, right? Yeah. As educators, we deal with the spectrum now all the time.
Precisely, right? No. I'm talking about like a new phrase which I just pulled out of thin air, right? I guess the mental medicine spectrum.
Yes.
Right.
Anyways, we have this hypnotist. The psychiatrist is doing hypnosis, and I think it's really interesting. Mm-hmm. I think even today there are still psychiatrists who will use hypnosis under certain circumstances. From what I understand, like some people go to get hypnotized to quit smoking, and that still seems to work. And I think for some things, like we were talking about, like alternative medicine a couple of minutes ago,
right?
Like some things just seem to work, and I think the medical community is like, well, why are we trying to break this thing that seems to work, even though we don't quite understand what's going on? You know? And if it is a placebo, so what? It's getting people to quit smoking and save years of their lives.
Precisely. At the end of the day, the objective is for it to work. So if it works, it works, right?
Right. Obviously, if it's like I go up to hypnotize people and charge $100 and it doesn't work and I've taken their $100 and also, made it seem like it's impossible for them to quit smoking, so they just keep smoking.
Right.
That's bad.
Yes, don't do that, hypnotists. Yeah. But in any case, right, this whole hypnotism angle is perfect for this movie. And let's have a look at Linda Blair's face here, right? As the psychiatrist pulls his hand away, you can see that Reagan is pale. She's got dark circles under her eyes. She's got this dreamy, faraway look here. Just that moment of her opening her eyes gave me the shivers because, like, you see that she is staring at nothing, but she's staring at it as if it were something. And that always creeps me out. It's like, what is she looking at, right? Like, what is she seeing that we are not seeing? And God, it holds on her face for a good long time before the psychiatrist speaks again, right? And he says, "Are you comfortable, Reagan?" And again, it's that calm, reassuring, authoritative voice, right? And again, after that, it's as if she's not going to speak, and then she does, like this dreamy, yes. And folks, I know I've harped on this before, and it may not seem like a big deal, but the stillness and the control of this young actor here, the way that she makes it seem like no other part of her face is awake or real, like it's only her mouth that moves when she talks, like she's a robot or like she's wearing a mask, like whatever is going on behind those eyes we cannot see, and that unnerves us. That makes us wonder, right? It's not sluggishness, it's not dullness. It actually looks like calculation. Like I know I'm doing the thing, right? Like I'm like we talked about, like we have a close up of an actor's face and I'm projecting all the stuff that I already know, about the movie, right? Like she might as well be looking at like a piece of pizza or something, whatever, right? But our actor here has made that possible by giving us this, like I keep on wanting to say mask, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, there's a reason masks creep us out, right? It's this very primal thing within us, right? The face is one of the main ways that we assess another person, right? Assess their mood, their intentions, like whether they are a friend or a foe, right? It's very much a survival thing, right? We understand all the little tics and all the little micro expressions, even if we don't think we do, right? But a mask takes that away. We are unable to read the other person's intentions. We are unable to read their thoughts, which is so beautifully ironic here, right? In this scene with a psychiatrist. And here we have this vacant, unreadable, and I think very aware face that Linda Blair is doing.
Right. I think one of the really interesting strategies for this scene compared to what I imagine is in the book and compared to what's in the screenplay is that we kind of like Mary Shelley's original Frankenstein. We don't say how we got here. Like we don't have in the screenplay, it's saying that we have a bobble and we're pointing a little flashlight at it and rotating it, etc. But like, for that Mary Shelley novel, it really is kind of like Frankenstein just says, "I did it last night. I did it."
Right.
And we're like, okay, great. Good. So we totally believe that. So we're not like, oh, I don't know. I think if we saw the process of it, instead we have just this blank screen, right? If we saw the process, you might go, oh, no, that's not going to work. She's faking. Right. She's pretending to do this or anything like that. But instead we just take it for granted that, yes, it's happened.
Yes. Oh, I like that. That's a very good point, right? And specifically because there is going to be some question later on as to whether Reagan is faking or not.
Right.
And we need that. We need us to wonder that later, but not now.
Right. We want to believe that she is under the spell of this hypnotist.
Yes. Right. So, yes, the psychiatrist asks how old Reagan is. Again, the pause and then 12. Is there someone inside you? Another long pause. Sometimes. And there it is, folks. That's the confirmation. We knew this. We knew it all along, but just that confirmation and also the way she delivers it. Again, it's like it gives me shivers, right? And right. Keenan, I don't know why, but sometimes is so much scarier than her just saying yes. Like, I don't like that. Like, sometimes, what does sometimes mean?
Oh, yeah. I guess I didn't want to think about that. That is scarier.
Right?
Maybe because it's more specific. Like if you are just getting the idea that the answer is always going to be yes or no, it's like, I'm just going to say yes or no at random, but that's like an actual honest response, right?
It's like she's trying to do her best to explain the situation to him.
Right.
And, right, sometimes,
right.
Right. So our psychiatrist pursues. He says, "Who is it?" More pausing, waiting as the message travels, waiting for it to be received on the other end. And then, "I don't know." Again, so much creepier than saying, Captain Howdy, right? You know, why doesn't she just say Captain Howdy, right? Like in the book, she already knows it's Captain Howdy, right? Like doing all of this to her, right?
Captain Howdy's chasing me down the hall, right?
Precisely, right? Like she knows it's Captain frickin' Howdy, right? Captain F. Howdy. There's even this like moment of clarity. Like she wakes up and she's like explaining to Klein and the other doctors is like, he used to be my friend, right?
That's really sad.
Yeah. Oh, that's heartbreaking, right? Like that you thought you had a friend. You trusted this I don't know, this person, right?
Yeah. Did you have an imaginary friend when you were a kid? I don't know if we've talked about this. I don't think so.
I did, yeah.
Oh, I if you don't mind, I mean, I don't want to be your because I've heard that having an imaginary friend is really common and really natural. And like I don't know, I think I was just too old of a child. I was just always so serious, complaining about Willow and Labyrinth and all of that. Imaginary, like, oh, it's an imaginary friend. Imaginary friend, you're not real. You're just a coping mechanism to deal with my loneliness and to develop my social skills in a safe environment. Get out of here.
And then he says, I know. All right. No, that was kind of the thing. It was a weird, again, it must have been in that weird like area of like growing up, like puberty or whatever, where all the chemicals are, you're just a mixed cocktail of anxiety and troubles and whatnot, right?
Right.
And biology and hormones and whatnot. But no, I kind of went through like some kind of weird existential crisis because I realized I was like, because I had this imaginary friend that I would kind of like, I don't know. I guess the rude way of saying it now is trauma dumping, right? Just to kind of like talk through all of the stuff that's going on,
right?
And just kind of like which looking back now, it's like that's a very healthy thing to do. I actually like when I journal, like it's the same thing essentially, right? But you're doing it to this imaginary person, right? And then I had a moment like where I kind of like. It basically said to myself, it's like, like there's nobody here.
That's so awful.
It was the worst feeling because I had this imaginary friend for like a year by that time and just realized like it wasn't, I'm not going to be all cinematic and say that my imaginary friend turned to me and said, I'm not here. But I just like without words, just the dawning of it, like I was sitting with my imaginary friend, like on a stoop or something like that. And suddenly I realized that no, I wasn't sitting with anybody. I was sitting alone.
Jeez.
And it was like, it's that moment right there. And maybe folks who've had this experience, like will know what I'm talking about, but like, that's the exact type of like strong emotion that you would want to share with your imaginary friends. Like, hey, it's like, hey, I just had this like really awful realization. Oh, wait, I can't share it with you. It's like,
I've only been in a handful of relationships. When there's a breakup, I think you go through that kind of thing. You're like,
yes,
I met somebody new. You know who I want to tell is my ex. Oh, wait, yes. that's not right.
Or even meeting somebody new or just like dealing with the breakup itself. It's like, oh man, this like all of these feelings, all of these, like just this horrible, feeling of loss and loneliness, like whether you were the one who did the breaking up or the other person, it like that like you both parties still feel this huge kind of like emptiness. And hey, guess what? Like the one person that you usually share those feelings with is like the one person you can't talk to. Like, oh my God, this is the worst feeling ever.
Oh, yeah. Wow. And then imagine if one of the parties isn't a real person. Terrible.
So you don't even have memories. It's like, oh gosh. Yeah. No, that was, this sounds funnier than it is, but that was the moment I was like, well, no more imaginary friends for me. I'm off the imaginary friends kick. Because this was just too much.
Wow. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. No, I'm really interested in it because I didn't have it, or I'm so traumatized by the loss of my imaginary friend that I'm repressing it 30 years later.
Yeah, folks. If you are existentially inclined. What does that even mean, Lester? God. That's a dangerous game to play, imaginary friends.
Wow. I do remember. I don't think we have kids listening to us, so I think I could say this. But
spoiler wall. Da, 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 da. Everything's happy and the world is okay.
There's no Santa Claus.
I was like, I know what he's going to say. Yeah.
Santa Claus is your parents lying to you rather than teaching you how capitalism works.
Oh my God.
No, but our friend Ian Hinden was the one who told me there was no Santa Claus. So he probably doesn't remember this at all, right? But I remember this very succinctly.
We're calling you out, Ian, on the show.
Right. I never talked to him about this, but we were like 8 or whatever, and he comes to school and it's just like, you all know there's no Santa Claus, right? And like clearly it was because he had learned that and was like, oh, that's so traumatic, right? And the only way he could deal with it is to lash out and
wants to share it, yeah,
right, and to be to pretend to be stronger, right, and be like, obviously there's no Santa Claus.
I'm not affected by this.
Right, exactly. So that's how I found out was that, and I remember that very, very clearly.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
But now, Lester, imagine that Santa Claus has gone inside of you.
No. Oh, Keenan. Oh no, you spoiled the thing that I was just going to say.
Go ahead.
So, okay, folks, if you're listening, this is the thing. So, if any kids accidentally heard that, do not pull them away from the show because I'm going to bring this out. I'm going to fly our sleigh out of the hell pit that we found ourselves in. So, I was actually in, I think it was 6th grade. And one day, I think it was like the day before Christmas break, a bunch of the bullies who usually bully me were kind of like gathered around this other kid, and they were laughing at him. Like I found out that they were laughing at him because he kind of admitted that he still believed in Santa Claus. And I just like, I'm not proud of this, folks, but I just kind of like stayed over where I was because like this is like the first time that they weren't bullying me, and it was like, yeah. And maybe I actually also still believed, so I didn't say anything. But then in comes our teacher. This is homeroom. So our homeroom teacher, Professor Nakagawa, really great teacher, really awesome guy. And he asks what's going on. He's like, what's up? What's wrong? And of course, all the bullies say, oh, this guy, kid believes in Santa, right? And Mr. Nakagawa, he's like, well, yeah, of course he does. So do I. He's real. And they're all like, whoa, right? It's 80s sitcom where they all do the doubles. Whoa. And he walks up to the front of the class and he writes down the word personification. And then he draws a little figure of like the Grim Reaper, right? Like with the skull and the scythe and everything like that, right? And he's like, have you guys heard the word personification? And everyone's like, no, right? I knew what it was because I was like obsessed with the Grim Reaper anyway. So he says like, yeah, personification, right? Like giving human qualities, like making an idea, making a concept or a feeling or an emotion into a person, right? And he points at the Grim Reaper and he's like, this is a personification of death, right? And does anybody know, right? Or how did he put it, right? And he said, it's like Santa Claus is a personification. Right? Santa Claus exists as a personification, right? And he says, when you give a Christmas gift to your mom or your dad, you are Santa. When they give a Christmas gift to you, they are Santa, right? When you do something unselfishly, kind, without expecting anything in return, you are being Santa to somebody, right? And so he wraps this all up and he says, so, he ends this all by saying, in that way, Santa does exist if you let him.
Well, that's beautiful.
Yes. So yeah, folks, Santa is real. Your imaginary friends are real. They are you. And Captain Howdy is real. There we go. Just in case you thought it was all sunshine and rainbows here on the Exorcist Minute.
That's right.
Yeah. Bringing it back.
Captain Howdy is real. He's right behind you.
He's right behind you.
And he might be inside of you right now.
Yes, he's on your stove range. He's looking at how you made those eggs, and he's got criticisms. Right, sunny side up my ass. But okay, back to like what Reagan says in the book, right? She's lamenting that Captain Howdy used to be her friend, right? And I like this because, right, like we're saying right here, it's like, why doesn't she just say that this is Captain Howdy, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that has something to do with it, right? Like, oh, he used to be my friend. So I think what she's saying is I don't know here because she knows it's Captain Howdy, but she no longer knows who Captain Howdy is. Right. Like he used to be my friend. I don't know who or what he is anymore. Right. But yeah, our psychiatrist pursues. He's down that track. He knows exactly what's going on. He says, "Is it Captain Howdy?" He knows. He suspects, or he thinks he does. And with that question from the psychiatrist, we are treated to this beautiful shot here. This is Chris's room. We see the fireplace, now completely dark, right? With that picture of Reagan over it, right? In that previous scene, it was suspended over the flames, right? Now it's hanging over darkness. The eyes in shadow, same photo from before, right? Looking very much like the first edition book cover, actually, right? Mm-hmm. And then we have the real Reagan, not exactly in the center, but that's because we are not shooting directly into the corner. Like if we were, she would be completely aligned with that corner, right? Mm-hmm. We're sort of like off to the side a bit, right? But the effect is still there. Like the room looks deep and cavernous and triangular, and those are all bad things, we know. And you have Reagan sitting on this chair. We see that's what it is now. And the first thing we notice is that she has her hand up in this weird posture. It's almost as if the psychiatrist was like holding her hand before the trance. Right. And it just like stayed that way. Right. Yeah.
That's on purpose for hypnosis.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. That's how they, that's, I don't know. I don't know exactly, I don't know if I believe in hypnosis, et cetera, but that's how they do that. They put the hand up so that, if the trance is weakening, the hand will fall down, kind of like the reverse of you. Like if you held your hand up and fell asleep, your hand would go down.
Oh, I see. Interesting. Okay. I never like that's just kind of like how I read it. Mm-hmm. And I'm realizing now there's like no shot of him holding her hand. So exactly. there's no like, smoking gun. Am I using that term correctly?
Yeah, they set it up. They probably cut all that out. They probably filmed it and cut that out, right?
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. But it's good that we like kind of just like intuitively like read that. Right. So our psychiatrist asks, is it Captain Howdy? And the answer comes a little bit quicker this time. But it's said in the exact same tone and cadence as the previous, like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Right. So she said, I don't know twice. And I'm almost tempted to wonder if it is the same sound and someone just like pushed a button and played this previously recorded response. But I actually love that in this case because it's as if someone is inside Reagan and they're pushing the buttons and playing this like pre-recorded response. Right.
Right.
Now, I don't know why, but this shot also, for me, calls to mind some sort of throne room. Mm-hmm. We got Reagan in the center. We got the members of her court attending her. She's even like doing this like imperious gesture with her hand, right? There's no thematic thing that I'm trying to tie in here, at least nothing that I can think of right now, other than maybe like she's the one with the power in this scene, even though it might seem like the psychiatrist is in control. Like in reality, like they're all attending on her, waiting for her to speak. I guess we can give it away now, right? But there is this question of whether or not Reagan or Captain Howdy is even hypnotized at all, right? Or whether this is all part of like his plan. So in that sense, he's probably like sitting in that chair, feeling like a king or a queen, like feeling like yes, just like old times again, right? So there we go. I made it work in my mind. In real time, on the air.
King or queen. I'm going to borrow from this production of Hedwig and the Angry Inch I saw yesterday. Oh, okay. Where Hedwig says, for men, for women, for the gender fluid, for the gender solid, for the gender gaseous.
I like that. Oh, yeah. The gender gaseous.
Right. But I like your metaphor that's a throne room. It's a chair that's too big for her, right? They're trying to make her really comfortable, and so it's really high like a throne. And it's Chris's room, right? So I think that takes us even a little bit to figure that out. I wouldn't be surprised if people were to watch it the first time and assume that we're at a psychiatrist's office. Right. Yeah. And not quite put it together that we're in a space that we already are familiar with. Because again, it's a corner of Chris's room we haven't seen before. We've never seen this chair. And we start to focus on details. I don't know. I'm going to skim through while we're talking and just look at some of the other scenes from Chris's room. It feels like we get more of the texture of the wallpaper here. Like it doesn't seem familiar. Yeah. Now that I'm looking at it, it's there in the other scenes. But I guess we see less of it, and it's darker there, and we don't have these sort of wide shots necessarily. But
I think the focus, like I didn't even expect, like the window and like the cityscape, like that. God, Chris, that's a view right there. Like, just like live in this house. This is a good house. I think get rid of the demon. Do that first. Priorities. But and maybe like block off those stairs just in case. Put a lock on the window. But move here. Seriously.
This is the demon's throne room, right? It's like the Hall of the Demon King or something like that.
Yes, right.
And we're all getting around, and I like the idea of it being a king or queen or something or whatever the gender fluid version of a king or queen is. I ask my students all the time. I say like, what are the, we'll do, whatever pronouns you want, but I'm, I'm stuck. Cause like, people my age, we were trained to say like ma'am and sir, like what is the gender? And I haven't been able to find it. Like we don't say it anymore.
I think like we are like our generation, right? Like the millennials, are like famously just like so bad at this thing. Like you have the like the boomers who are like just openly against it.
I'm not going to try.
Right. And then you have Gen Z who has no problem with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then us, we're like we're trying our best and we just keep messing up. Right? Like it's so hard.
Right.
So please, younger generations, please forgive us. We're trying. Yeah.
Yeah, but if anybody knows, like I would love to find the ma'am or sir, the kind of that just conversational handle, right, that you say. But anyways, or let me know what my original question was, the gender neutral term for a monarch, I suppose, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, your highness, right? Or your grace.
Or your majesty.
Your majesty. There's actually a ton of them, Keenan.
No. But instead of king or queen, you just say
yes.
Rex.
Monarch?
Well, Rex is gendered, isn't it? Because the female would be like Regina or Regia. Or...
Yeah.
Anyways, so we have this gender-gaseous king or queen, this monarch here.
Extremely gender-gaseous.
Oh, that's true. We're going to see that in a second. Right. But like a king or a monarch or queen, right, they're all attending to Captain Howdy, but they're terrified of him at the same time.
Yes.
It's like, we're going to be sweet and calm and acquiesce to you, but we're really just terrified and afraid of what you're going to do.
Yes. I really like. Okay, so I'm glad I'm not crazy.
You're not crazy. No.
In this minute with a psychiatrist, right?
No. Captain Howdy is king. King Howdy.
King Howdy, right? He's been promoted. He's no longer captain, right? No, I think he would actually like keep his captain title. So it would be King Captain Howdy. It's like, call me King Captain Howdy. That's it. Yeah. But
like I was always you remember Muammar Gaddafi in Libya? He was always colonel, and I'm like, well, once you take over the damn country, can't you just become general? Like, why are you always still colonel?
Right.
There's probably something I'm missing there, but I don't know if he's like trying to be like, pretend he's not the dictator. I think that might be part of it, but you have all the generals saluting to him and he's the colonel.
Right. That's actually another thing we should ask Andy Nelson, Keenan, right? When we guest on the Marvel Movie Minute, folks, we're going to be with Andy Nelson doing that show, talking about I believe the Avengers. Yeah. I want, I have a question about Captain America, right?
Oh no.
Like, is he still captain? Is it like, or has he been promoted? Like, what's going on?
He does not get promoted. It really is a shame.
Yeah. He should be a little bit more than captain right now.
He's the longest serving soldier in American history.
Yes. He is the first Avenger. What's going on?
Right. He like enlists in 1942 and then stays there till Avengers Endgame. So whenever that's set, like 2023, I believe Avengers Endgame is set. So
yeah. Are they making a comment on his performance? I mean, it's like, you're still captain after all these years? Like, come on. Like, but then again, right, Captain Howdy has been captain for, centuries, millennia.
Centuries,
right? Yeah. But yeah. Okay. So So our psychiatrist presses. He says, if I ask him to tell me, will you let him answer? Mm-hmm. And here we have a very definite no. It's dreamy, but it's also not, right? Like it's a strong denial. But Keenan, who is saying no here? Is this Reagan or is this Captain Howdy?
Mm-hmm. I think it's Reagan, if you're putting me on the spot. I think Reagan is in control of herself here.
Okay, all right.
But what do you think that he's pretending?
No, I agree with you too, Keenan. I think it is Reagan here, especially because of what she says in a few seconds, right? She says, I'm afraid. But there is this Blatty, when he's reading the audiobook, he does a really good job here. And I'm so excited to read it in our next minute. I'm going to read this scene because it goes on a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. And there's like this conversation between the psychiatrist and Captain Howdy, which I really, really like. But there, like when Blatty changes the voice, you can tell like who he has decided is talking at certain times, and I really like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'll get to that in the next minute. But yeah, so we cut from there to a shot of Chris, another beautifully constructed shot. She's in the foreground with her hands clasped, covering the lower half of her face. Her eyes are so wide and so hopeful, right? This might be the answer, right? It seems like that's what she's thinking, right? Despite that no that Reagan just uttered, it feels like they have already made more progress. Mm-hmm. This psychiatrist has already made more progress with Reagan than any other doctor.
Right.
And you can see that in Chris's face. She's like, finally.
You know why?
Why?
Because Lester, this doctor doesn't talk to this little girl. This doctor listens.
There we go. There we go. But yeah, like in Chris's eyes, right? That hope shining through, right? But also a little bit of fear as well, right? Mm-hmm. Like she's like, what am I looking at? Like who are we talking to right now, right? And behind her, oh my God, I love it so much. Behind her, out of focus, is that same picture from before of Reagan with her hands clasped as if in prayer. And you realize that Chris is doing the exact same thing, the exact same pose. It's so perfect. I love it. Mm-hmm. And while we are still on Chris, we can hear the psychiatrist's voice, right? He says, why not? We cut back to Reagan, back to that sleepy, dreamy expression, which again also looks somehow intense and aware. And she responds, I'm afraid. But the psychiatrist says, if he talks to me, I think he'll leave you. Do you want him to leave you? And here we get a shot of Dr. Klein. Oh yeah, Dr. Klein's here. It's almost like it's supposed to be that way. Like the movie is.
I think so. Absolutely. I think so.
Yeah. It's like, you're still here. Right. Mm-hmm. But okay. Like in all seriousness, Keenan, like what is going on with Dr. Klein here? Like what are you reading on his face here? He actually seems like more invested, more focused, less, clueless here. Like it reminds me of the other shot we have of him from Reagan's bedroom, what you called like his hero expression. I think.
Yeah, he like steps forward and he's like, "I'm the man here. I'm gonna take this movie over." Right? It feels like for a split second.
For a split second, right? Before his lip is split.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like. If we just show this clip to someone who's never seen the movie, they might say, oh, yeah, he's the hero, right?
Right.
Or he's a hero. Certainly they would think that he plays a bigger part than he actually does.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Do you think it's entirely because it's the dude or like, the movie, the man in the movie, or what do you think is going on? Because I completely agree with you.
I think part of it is that like he's one of the guys in this room, right? And then in the 1970s, we're gonna be looking for a guy to pilot this thing, and I think also because this is like one of the few moments that we see that he has like a serious face on, right? Like he's not cocky, he's not clueless, he's like it's the second instance in this film that I can remember that he has this kind of like a serious face on.
Right. It's not easy, and I'm doing the real work. It seems like I'm observing and listening, and I don't have any preconceived notions of what I'm supposed to be doing here.
Yeah. But yeah,
I think he's also probably scared shitless, right? Into doing anything heroic and stupid. Because she's just staring, and she's staring at nothing, as you've established. But the editing of it certainly makes it look like she's staring right at him.
Yeah,
which I don't think is what's actually happening, but that's the way it feels.
Yeah, but even if she's even if their eyes aren't like, you know, in alignment with each other, like whatever nothing she's looking at, like she's looking at it, like she's really looking at it. And that's just that always bothers me. It's like because you can have like a vacant stare where you're looking at nothing, but then you can also have, this is like on a whole other level. This is like she's looking at nothing, but she's looking at something, right? Yeah. I host a podcast, folks, and I try to be as descriptive as possible.
Right.
But it's like that's going to be in the show notes. She's looking at nothing, but she's looking at something.
We're writers. I have a writing degree. You have an English degree? I forget.
I do.
Not theater. Yeah. It's all the same.
It's all the same. Words, whatever. Words, as somebody said. Yeah.
I wanted to talk about my experiences with hypnosis, if you'll allow me.
Ooh, yes.
So I've never been hypnotized. Have you ever been hypnotized?
No.
What's keeping you from going and getting hypnotized?
Off the top of my head, I would say laziness, because I think it wouldn't work. But if I really, really examined it, maybe I'm a little bit afraid of like what actually would happen.
I think that's exactly why I don't want to be hypnotized. So I say now, it doesn't work. It's not real. It's psychosomatic, etc. But no, the real reason. So I had plenty of opportunities to be hypnotized because my best friend in college, our friend Kyle Sonjan.
Oh, okay.
His girlfriend for a while was the magician's assistant for a hypnotist. So I would very frequently go down there with Kyle to go pick up the girlfriend after work, and we get to sit in on shows very, very frequently. So I saw many shows with her. She was a wonderful magician's assistant, like one of the best I'd ever seen.
Oh.
And so this show would be, they'd bring up 7 or 8 people from the audience and they would test them and hypnotize them. Actually, maybe probably 10. And the guy would go down the list and go down the line and hypnotize them all. And then a couple of them, he would tap them on the shoulder and say, "Thank you, go ahead and sit down," because they wouldn't be hypnotized. And so you'd sort of be like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." So that way, I guess some people who weren't as persuasive or persuaded rather would just go down and to see the comedy show. But he would make these other people do things against their will, and I saw it. I mean, I don't know how. Like the literature says, it's kind of a mass hysteria, or it's sort of like people know that they're on stage, and they would rather not embarrass the hypnotist.
I've heard of that as well. Right. Like it's this sense of like, or even, I'm going to let you finish because I don't want to go off on this.
No, I think you're going to say what I was going to say, right? Like it's just sort of you're going along with it, right?
Yeah. There's this sense of decorum of almost like even in, and I've heard about this like in like reference to like being in the midst of like some great tragedy or some emergency or like even being in danger, and you still following like this weird insistence not to be like rude. Right. Or a wet blanket or something. Like it's the what was it? I think it was in relation to who was Buffalo Bill copying? Like what was his inspiration? Ed Gein, yeah.
He's kind of a combination of a bunch of people, yeah.
Yes, but like there's this. I think it was either talking about that character or the real life monsters that inspired that character. But like they talk about like the victims, and the victims like. And this was like defending the victims. It's not like it's like, because people were saying, why would you go and like help that person like who's obviously like trapping you or like is trying to get you like isn't like every alarm bell going off in your head like and yes, of course it is, but then also like, and this is for everybody, and like and this kind of like this statement was made to kind of like explain how hard it is to not help in that situation, right? Like it would seem so weird. Like you're walking down the street and you see this, this person who's like on every other like level, every other fiber of your being, like is obviously a serial killer who's trying to trap you in their van, right? But they're asking for help. They're asking for like, I don't know, the time or some spare change, or to help you move a couch or something like that. And us as human beings, and I'm not talking about people who are like susceptible or gullible, or I'm talking about every single human being. We have this like ingrained thing to be like, oh sure, let me help you. Like, and it would feel so weird not to do that. Right. And that's how they get you. And I often wondered if like hypnosis works on that level too. It's like, well, I'm up on the stage here. I don't want to embarrass this hypnotist. I want this, or even maybe you're not even thinking about him. You're just thinking, I want this to work.
Right. Absolutely. That's what they say. And that's what a lot of the literature says. And then when you see it happening, I mean, I believe those people were hypnotized and they were doing things against their will, whether that is conscious or not. They really were making up languages. They really were saying things against their personal beliefs. They were clucking like chickens, etc. So I mean, I've seen it work, and again, I'm kind of a chicken shit a little bit, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to believe it. It's all fake. And at the same time, don't do it to me. Please don't ever do that to me. Right.
It's the safer thing to say that it's all hokum, and it's like, oh, it wouldn't work on me anyway. So why even try it?
Right. And to be honest, like that's my relationship with like prayer, right? Like I don't want to, suddenly try it someday just to try it and then feel it, and then all of a sudden feel it. You know what I'm saying? And like, then I would be wrong and they'd be right, or whatever that is. Like it's that stubbornness of that. Yeah.
What does it mean to be answered by God? It's like, oh shit.
Like, nah. Yeah. Let me just eat my Doritos in peace. Just sit here. Because those are the options. You pray or you eat Doritos. You can't do both.
Nope. It's been scientifically proven.
But anyways, yeah. So I think it's interesting that this movie takes the stance that well, I guess again, depending on how you're going to look at what's going to happen in a couple minutes, but that hypnotism works. That we are at least supposed to believe at this point that it works.
Yeah, and I got some things to say in the next minute about that very thing. But like, no, I'm glad we're bringing it up here, right? Because we're laying the groundwork for what is about to go down. But yeah, so we cut back to Reagan as the psychiatrist asks, "Do you want him to leave you?" She says, "Yes." So another cut. We follow the psychiatrist as he stands up. The camera also rises and moves in. Keenan, is this a... Wait. Don't tell me. This is a zoom.
Oh, I don't know. Let me go look at this here. Let me rewind a little bit.
I was like, I'm going to impress Professor Keenan. This is going to be...
Yes, I imagine that is a zoom. That they might also be pushing in on a dolly, but that's a zoom. Yes, for sure.
Okay, all right.
Yes, definitely.
So our psychiatrist, he turns around, a brief glance to everybody in the room, like almost as if he's about to perform a magician's trick, right? Like, and hey, we're back to magic versus medicine, right? This magic versus medicine motif that we started this minute with. As the camera moves closer, he begins to say, "I'm speaking to," right? But who is he speaking to? Or who does he think he's speaking to, right?
Or what is he speaking to?
Or what, right? Question mark, exclamation point, right? And more importantly, who will answer? That is all coming up in the next minute. Keenan, is there anything else we want to talk about before we leave this room, leave this house, before something else comes?
Right. Well, we still have our sense of smell. I think we're done.
Yes. Yeah. That's good. Right. Yeah. No. Gaseous. What was it?
Gender-gaseous.
Gender-gaseous.
Oh, that had big. She's a smart lady.
She is. So, folks, this has been another excellent Exorcist Minute. I've been Lester Ryan Clark. You can reach me on all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I've been Keenan Diaz, and you can find me on Instagram and Letterboxd as Howdy Keenan.
Yeah. Our website for the show is theexorcistminute.com. We also have a Facebook page, so if you like us and you want to share us with your friends, then go ahead and do that. If you don't like us, then you can share us with your enemies. We also have a listener group on Facebook. It's called Compelling Conversations. Just request to join, and we'll let you in, and you can be in here with us. And of course, as always, if you'd like to leave us a message, our email is theexorcistminute@gmail.com, all one word. Let us know. Hey, have you ever been hypnotized? What was it like? What happened? Like, did you cluck like a chicken? I want to hear those stories because I myself have never been hypnotized, right? So I want to hear what it's like. Lastly, if you liked the show and you want to help us out, the best thing you can do for a new podcast that's just starting out is to leave a 5-star review, and that will help other people find us so we can keep growing this cool community. Lastly, if you like the show and you want to help us out, the best thing that you can do for a new podcast that's just starting out is to leave a 5-star review. Only a dumb bird wouldn't leave a 5-star review. Am I right, Keenan?
That's right.
Yes.
Dumb bird.
Dumb bird. 5-star review. And that'll help us out and help other people find us, and we can keep growing this cool community. All right. Keenan, I think that's it. Is there anything else that we have for this minute?
No, I think we got it.
All right. So, Keenan, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think I am, Lester.
Folks, until next time, the power of Santa Claus compels you.
He lives!
I think he would keep his he would be King Captain Howdy. Oh shoot, I'm going to say that again because my phone. And let me turn that off actually. Lester, best practices, come on. Bad etiquette. Jeez. And you know who that was, Keenan?
I know who that was.
You saw it? Okay.
The guy who ruined Christmas for me. The man who killed Santa Claus.